Welcome to Tennis Racket Nirvana.
The Yonex Regna 98 and 100.
So for those that don't know, the Yonex Regna is the rarest tennis racket in the world. Only available in Japan, only made in very small quantities, and only made by Yonex's finest engineers.
Yeah, the Yonex Regna is the pinnacle, the highest quality, the best tennis racket you can buy, according to Yonex, of course. And the fact that it's so rare kind of intrigues us, doesn't it? It's been a little itch.
Yes.
We needed to scratch. We've tested the 98 before, and we really liked it, but we never managed to get ourselves a 100.
Yeah.
We never got our hands on one of these before. So we sent our man, Jun, into Japan, and he scoured the country.
Yes, so not only is it made in small quantities by the finest people, but it's also incredibly hard to get, no matter what. Jun didn't just walk into the Yonex store in Tokyo and buy it, because it's not in the Yonex store in Tokyo or in any other Yonex store, nor is it on their website. Jun had to scour the back streets of Tokyo to find a tennis shop that had Regnas, and so he did. And it is part of this mystique that makes it so exciting, which sort of gives the rackets an extra gravitas.
Is it a bit of aura?
Yes.
A cachet?
Yes, to use what the kids would say,
Yes.
aura in these rackets. So the Regna 98 is a 310 gram racket. It's got a balance point of 315 mil. It is a 1619 pattern. As you can see, pretty thin, pretty sort of classic sort of high-end tennis racket vibes, except for the isometric head shape.
Yeah, and the 100 is, as you expect, a 100 square inch head. It weighs 295 grams, so quite significantly lighter, and it's got a balance of 325, so essentially a more traditional, normal, in inverted commas, tennis racket for your day-to-day tennis player, but still a Regna.
We have strung them with Polytour Pro at 50 pounds of tension, and we're ready to put them through their paces.
See if we can reach Nirvana on a tennis court.
Let's go. Okay, in fact that was too abrasive a start. Okay,
We need to go in with that.
yes, a racket like this needs a certain sort of delivery, and I'm going to try and temper the way I would normally speak about tennis rackets to give this the gravitas that it deserves. The Regna 98 is, I think, Ben, perfect.
This isn't going to be a normal racket review, because to talk about these two tennis rackets as tools to play a game feels like we're doing them a disservice, almost. The amount of time and effort and quality that has been imbued into these is genuinely remarkable.
Yes.
There is nothing else that I've ever used on a tennis court that, or actually what? There's nothing else I think I've ever used. I'm not a fancy man, but there is something about these that you just sense something different than compared to a normal tennis racket.
Yes, the comparison that I would give is that I was very recently gifted a very nice knife, also Japanese made, funnily enough, a very nice knife by my cousin who is a chef, so it's a very nice knife. And as soon as you pick it up, as soon as you slice through something, there is a sense that you're dealing with something that has been absolutely crafted with the utmost care and respect and quality.
Yeah, and I think that's up. So to then put it through its paces and go through all the categories undermines that, because this is above categories. It's above. It is you pick it up and straight away you know that you are using something that is about as good as it can get.
Yes.
There's your review, everyone.
Yes. To describe playing with it is almost like if you were playing doubles with someone who you know is miles better than you, or is at least playing better than you that day and making no mistakes. When you miss with the Regna, you are in no doubt as to whose fault it was. And it was yours. It was not the racket's, because when you're getting it right, when you're right, this racket puts the ball exactly where you want it to be, exactly how you want it to go there, like nothing else.
And it feels incredible when you do that, and weirdly, you even mentioned this, sounds amazing when you do it. This racket is a delight for all the senses.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe not sight, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of feels like if you're using such a perfect racket, you almost begin to feel like you're not quite worthy. And I did say when we were playing, I'd love to see Federer using this. I feel like he's probably the only person who could really get the most out of a Regna.
Yeah.
Like it's...
Or just the only one that's, even if it, because I feel like I'm getting as much as I can out of it, but I still don't feel worthy of it.
It's like you want to see it in the hands, like your knife.
Yes.
You want to see it in the hands of a master chef.
Yes, not me slicing my fingers off.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
It's like not us missing the odd ball.
Yeah.
You kind of, this racket demands concentration, it demands focus.
Yeah.
But whilst you're doing that, is so much fun and so delightful. It's always, this is a mind-boggling experience to try and put this into words to all you guys watching.
Yeah.
Is that you feel like you're doing something special and serious, and you should be trying your best, but at the same time having so much fun because it just feels so good. And
I remember thinking this, reviewing this 98 the first time, is that when you pick it up and when you look at it, my thoughts were, oh, this is going to be really difficult to use. And it's surprisingly not. It's much, much easier to use. It's pretty flexible. It's pretty soft feeling.
Yeah. It doesn't. You can't look at the spec because it doesn't.
Yeah. The spec would make it think it's difficult. The look, the thin beam would make it seem like it's going to be really difficult, but it's not. It's just perfect.
Yeah, we say this all the time, is that you can't just read the spec and go out and use that as a way of making a decision. You have to put the racket in your hand, go out and give it a feel. And this is a perfect encapsulation of this, because everything about this racket screams, it's going to be hard to use. Then you use it and you go, oh no, actually it's the easiest racket I've ever used because it's doing the work for me. It's like and I almost felt like a passenger to some extent, which is probably why it was so much fun. But you're not. It's really, really weird feeling you come and think it and it happens.
Yeah, if you were gonna try and place it within the Yonex range, I think the closest I would say is somewhere between E-Zone and Percet, but really it's not. It really is its own thing, and I don't know that it's comparable to any other racket. Maybe you think maybe you've got one that's
no, not at all. And I think this is an interesting point, because if this racket is as perfect as a racket can be, every single person should be using it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we shouldn't. There's thousands of rackets out there, and that speaks more to the other rackets than to you guys watching. Is that there is no perfect. There's what suits you. But if you've got a Regna in your hand, you're going to be better. But you can't go wrong with it. You can go wrong with everything else. But this feels like it's always going to be good, and it's always going to help you. And that's what makes it special.
And that's the mark of quality.
It is.
Yeah.
And speaking of quality, there's a famous book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, Robert Persig, and he talks about quality as the underlying unifying force that separates and unifies subjective and objective. And that's what the Regna does. It's like you subjectively feel that it's great and objectively know that it is. and that's what quality is, and that's what you're saying about. You pick it up in your hand before you've even struck a ball. You know this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And then you strike a ball and you're, oh my word, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Best shot I've ever hit. That was ridiculous. And that's quite a special thing that Yonex have done, and speaks to their effort, their intensity, their just quality control, and their, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Their ambition.
Whatever you call what the master craftsmanship of it all is just absolutely, it sort of courses through the racket.
Yeah, and we were thinking maybe this is why it's not available around the world, because that would sort of ruin the racket a little bit. It would sort of
undermine it in a sense, yes.
This is a master craftsman's handiwork that they have spent time and effort, and for it just to be used willy-nilly by any guy on the street would be a shame almost.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point. It should be hard to get because it's so good. It should be expensive because they spent so much time and effort on it. And so if you do get the chance to ever use one, I guess what we're saying is like, make sure you respect the opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like and what's what we're trying to get across to you guys is that this is amazing
Yeah.
experience that you don't normally get,
Yeah.
which is remarkable.
So how about that for an impartial review?
Now we need to find some faults.
There you go. Those, believe it or not, those are our first thoughts on the Regna 98 and 100. Now we're going to try and separate them a little bit to sort of give you some of the differences between how the 98 works and how the 100 works. So we've given you the spec, so you don't need that. But in terms of, I think for me, the clearest distinction, before we go through some categories, the clearest distinction is that to me, the 98 is the purest. That is the purest form of how this racket is supposed to be. And that really, with all of those things about craftsmanship and quality and the sort of philosophy of that falls 100% into the 98. Whereas I think that what you get with the 100 is a slight sort of tempering of that and allowing it to become slightly more accessible.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah.
The 100 is the easier version.
Yep.
Of the 98.
Yes.
The balance, the head size, the weight, all those things do make it a bit more accessible, but do soften the magic slightly.
Exactly right. In terms of power, I don't think there's a real separator.
Which is interesting in itself, because you'd expect the 100 to be more powerful because of the increased head size, but then the weight and because of the increased head size and the balance, but then the increased weight of the 98 and its purity of play makes it, I say, a wash, really, in terms of. Yes,
it does. It's almost pointless going through the categories, because I think the 98 takes it in all facets. Maybe you could start to get into the real nitty gritty and say it's probably slightly easier to defend big fast serves off centre. But we're getting we're getting into the weeds here.
And if you use a Regna, you're not going to be off centre.
No, exactly.
And if you are off centre, you shouldn't be using a Regna. That's not what it's for. This is why it's for Roger.
If you are getting off centre context, you've let the racket down and you've let the craftsman down, and therefore put it in your bag and pick up your E-zone again.
That's what it's like. It'd be like using a samurai sword as a doorstop.
There are some negatives.
Believe it or not.
Yes, there are. And it comes from there and from afar, looks tremendous. Black frame, bright yellow polytour, black stencil, black grip. It looks very, very good. But when you get in close, it starts to drift slightly. I'm not a fan of this.
No, neither am I. The logo's a bit.
It's a little, you described it a little bit Djokovic. And I said it's a little bit naff, and for our Americans that just seems a little bit cringe, slightly uncool. But you've also got sort of other aesthetic details. You've got a strange sort of grey extra block through there. You've got the sort of carbon looking bit there. Then you've got gloss. Then you've got matte. Then you've got the.
We are nitpicking here.
But yes, they've sort of, it's like they've created something beautiful, and then the sort of marketing people have said, no, but we still want it to look a little bit like a Yonex, and drop some of that stuff in. So that's my major criticism, other than the fact that you can't buy it, that is a downside too.
If you've made the perfect racket and then just put a bit of a clip art block in the throat, you're okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's worse things they could have done. One important note, and this is a tricky one because we do so much string reviewing here, but something like a Regna, when it comes to string, we're almost suggesting just put Polytour in and be done with it.
Yeah.
I think it has to be Yonex, it should be Yonex, and it should be Polytour Pro, because you want the racket to come through.
Yes.
If you're worrying about the strings again, you don't deserve it.
Just keep it clean and easy and simple, and let the racket do the talking.
If you're lucky enough to have one, put some Polytour in it, string it at about 50, a little bit looser, because it's quite flexible and you want a bit of pocketing, it's a proper tennis review now.
I know.
But make it nice, make it comfy, and then just get out on court and enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Because it's never going to get better.
Yeah.
It really is the best tennis racket I've ever used.
Same.
Done. And I imagine for a long time that will be the case.
Yes, I think so.
However, you will not see it in our top fives, because it would make them a bit redundant, because you can't get out there and get it. And it's almost like, it's like a cheat code.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Not fair.
It's not fair.
Okay.
But there you go. If you can get one, get it as quick as you can and never let it go. As always, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe, so you never miss a thing from PH Tennis.